Okay, so want to try that. Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, so that was weird. So the live streaming is one of those things that just kind of gets weird for me. All right. Today, we are going to talk about color theory because this was something that came up yesterday and helping a friend, um, helping her son learn Photoshop. And she mentioned that she doesn't know anything about color, doesn't know anything about design. And so when you open up Photoshop, here you are with this graphic design tool and you know nothing about design. So the question is, how do we get to a place where you can apply colors, you understand what colors you should use? Exactly what should you do, when it comes to color and designing these images or anything like that. So if I take a picture like this, right? And I say I want to do something with this color, right? What should I do with it? Or better yet, I'm going to take an image and I'm going to open something up here. And we're going to do maybe something like maybe let's say a duotone. Duotone is a very popular thing. So the question that ends up happening is that you don't know what colors to choose. You don't know where to go with them, and so you get stuck right away if you're thinking, "I'm not a designer, and here I am with this project trying to design something." Right? So we'll take an image like this and say, I want to duotone this image. So now the problem is how do you pick colors? So we want to talk about color. We want to talk about blend modes. We want to talk about, and then we want to do a nice doodle at some point. All right. So let's start. Colors. I'm going to start you guys off really simple by saying you are not going to pick colors. Okay. I'm going to start right off with that. This is not something you're going to do. What you're going to do is that you are going to go to a website. All right. And in this website, it will teach you how to select your colors. So let's go ahead and pick my screen here. Let's go here. All right. This is this is how we come up with color. This is color theory in its basics. Great. This is a great tool, but this is what we're gonna do. We have different types of color combinations, right? Color combinations. So analogous is essentially all of the colors where they fall on this color wheel, right? That's really what we're talking about. We have 5 different colors, and the most you ever really want to deal with is 5. Okay. We can go 3, we go to 5, but for the most part, you don't want to go more than 5. So the 5 colors that you want to choose, Analogous says that the colors fall next to each other on the color wheel. So if we look here, as I rotate this around, and here we almost got a monochrome type deal going on, but we can take these 2 colors and you can see it's giving me that color combination. But then what it also does is gives me an opportunity to tweak the RGBs. Okay. So depending on where I want to go with the different colors, all right, it's giving me this. So I have my red, my green, my blue, my brightness. How bright do I want it? All right. So I want it bright. I want my blues. There's my greens. And this is what I'm going to do with the reds. Okay. So this is one. So Analogous says all of these colors are going to fall next to each other on the color wheel. And we can spread them out just a little bit. So if you wanted to go something like that, brighten it up. All right. So you can spread it out some, but for the most part, typically we're fairly close. All right. All right. So that's what we talk about when we talk about Analogous, where they fall on this color wheel. Monochrome. You can see there, it's all combinations. It's combinations of really that straight line on the color wheel. Where they're on the color wheel is pretty much in a straight line. That's your monochrome. Okay. This is used quite a bit in a lot of designs. Triad, another color combination. All right. So if I'm this is kind of dark here, so let's brighten it up some. Okay. I like that a little better. All right. So Triad is one. Complementary is this is the number one color combination, right? Complementary, everyone, I think almost everyone recognizes this because these are opposites on the color wheel. Okay. So everything is opposites on the color wheel. Now, you know this because all you have to do is look at your favorite sports team. Your favorite sports team, almost all of the colors are complementary. Okay. If I come over here to, let me find the Lakers and brighten that yellow up. All right. So here we come to the Lakers. The Bears have that orange and that blue. Well, the Bears are a little bit off. Their Bears are kind of how could we describe the Bears? Because the Bears are using that blue and that orange. Bears almost like Analogous. It's using a blue and an orange. So the blue and orange fall a little closer on the color wheel, but you can kind of see what's happening there. All right. But complementary and Analogous are the two easiest to work with. And monochrome. Monochrome is fairly, it's just shades of the same color. But even here can be a little confusing, right? Because what if you don't know? I'm looking at these colors, but man, that's a lot of moving around of the wheel. So we go to the next one. We go to explore. Now, what explore does is this is just saying, hey, there's a bunch of color combinations out there that people have used. Why don't you try one of them? Right. So if I go to color themes, right, and I go most used, well, now I can come here and say, well, these are the most used color combinations. I can kind of go through this. And again, there's a lot of them. Sometimes you have an idea of one or two of the colors. That's the main thing that you want to start with, right? Try to get one or two of the colors. Try to find out what's one of the colors that you want, and try to get there, right? If you can get there, then you can kind of narrow this down. All right. So I can say view by color themes, view by creative projects. and if you all sources. So I'm looking at everything. But again, we are at this place where there's a lot here. How do you narrow it down so you can use what's there? All right. We have one more level we can go to. And the whole idea about this, guys, is that you are not trying to pick these colors. You have an idea of the color, but even if you don't have an idea of a color, you can simply look at an image. Okay. Go to trends and simply find an image, right? We can take a look at an image and say, oh, I like this. I want it to look like this. Well, here is your color combination. And now you can just download the JPEG. And if you have let me pull that off the screen here. You guys don't want to see my login information. Okay. But I can download this image. All right. So I can download it. Let me download it. All right. So I've loaded it. I'm going to go to I'm going to pull up Photoshop here. And I'm going to open it. Here it is here. So now I have it open. I have my colors. I bring it over here. So now I have my color combination and I can now work with this image in any way I want. So if I said, well, I like the orange and I like the orange and this tan color here. So I'm going to take a gradient map. And I want my shadows to be the orange. Oops. I'll make sure when you do this that you have it here. All right. So I said I want my shadows to be the orange. And I want my to be there. All right. And now all I have to do is change the blend mode to maybe multiply. And there we are. And we can always bump down the opacity, but I've color graded her based on a combination of colors that I've seen, right? So it is one of those things that we're not expecting you to go out and kind of build this. You just go out there and you look for. Let me pull up this website again. Oh, why is this website giving me the fits? Okay, I moved it over here. That's why. Okay, so we're just looking at websites. We're just looking at images, and we're saying, like this image, I want my image to look something like that. What are the color combinations that's taking place? All right. Now, we can do this within any image actually in Photoshop. Okay. I'm going to show you how to take an image. So let's say an image like this, but I'm going to go to any image. I'm going to go to unsplash.com and I'm going. And we're gonna find an image that has some color grade on it. I'm gonna look for a color grade. Okay. All right, here we go. So an image like this, right? So I'm gonna go ahead to download this image. So I like the blue that's happening in here, and I want that blue and kind of these colors in my image. So what I'm going to do is open the photo. Okay. So I kind of like what's going on here, right? I like those colors. So I'm going to go to File, Export, Export As. I'm going to go to File. All right, we're going to go to File, Export, and we're going to go to Save for Web Legacy. All right. And what this screen can do, this basically says we're going to be saving a picture for the web, but that's not what we want to do here. What we want to do is grab the colors out of this image. All right. So I'm going to go to fit. I want to grab the colors out of this image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, I have my setting to GIF. So if it was usually it's at JPEG, but we're going to change it over to GIF. And what we want is to show the number of colors. All right. So almost any image, the color combination is going to be 255. Here's your color map. These are all the colors that are in this image. Okay. What we're saying is we're going to go take it down to 5. Okay. So we took it down to 5. And what Photoshop does is it does this algorithm and it just converges these 5 colors that represent that entire picture. Okay. So now we know what's with this, the colors that are in this picture, and we're going to save this as our swatches. So I'm going to come over here to color menu, save as a color table. And I'm going to go action. All right. So now that I've done that, I don't need this. So I'm just going to hit cancel. All right. So what I did was I created a table of swatches. And I've created that from a lookup table, a basically a color map of this image. Right. And I can apply that color map to this photo here. So let me go over to my swatches and I'm going to load. And I'm going to look up ACT. It's called fashion. Okay. All right. Those are the colors for this. Now, applying this to this image is based on we're going to essentially take we're going to take these colors and apply them to this image here. All right. And we're going to use, again, the gradient map. I'm going to use this gradient map and I'm going to change it. All right. So you're going to see this is going to go fairly easy. I'm going to double click. All right. So here's my color. I'm going to click here. And what I'm going to note is this number right here, the brightness. This is my brightness. This is hue, saturation, brightness, 18%. So when I hit OK, the location, I'm going to change it to 18. Then I'm going to add another one. Double click. Go here. This brightness, it has it set as 70. Click OK. Change the location, 70. All right. Click here. Brightness is 84. Change this, 84. We're going to add one more. Double click. That's essentially white. Well, it's off-white. Brightness is 96. Change this brightness to 96. All right. All right. So we've color graded her and it looks a mess, right? But that's because we're going to go with, let's see, I think I like overlay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do overlay. And what I can do is I may not want her skin because she had really nice skin to begin with. So I may want to hide that from, I may not want it applied to her skin. So I can take it off her skin. So you can see that. All right. There we go. All right. So before, after. Very straightforward. It is one of those things. So I'm going to create a tutorial on how to do this. I will have some very specific images and everything like that. But what I really wanted to do is kind of get it out there because I've said I wanted to do something like this. And every single time that I do a doodle, this is technically what I'm doing, right? So I wanted to kind of explain exactly what I'm doing. I'm simply taking color combinations that I know work, right? And I know they work because they've been proven time and time again on this website. So I know the color combinations work and I know that they're trending. So I know I have my ideas of what colors to use because I'm just looking at what's trending, right? After I do that, I apply it to the image using a gradient map. There's a couple other techniques we can use to do this, but that's typically where I start with a gradient map. All right. So that's geek out moment number 1. All right. Geek out moment number 2. All right. Blend modes. The blend mode, when we talk about blend mode, we're saying we have a base layer and then we have a blend layer. And so when we talk about the blend modes, we're saying that we're going to take these 2 layers and we're going to take the blending layer, that whatever color we want, and we're going to blend it down into the base. And that is the picture that's underneath. So that's what we're talking about. So if we go here at this image right here, okay, I want to apply some type of color to this image. And I'm going to go, let's say if I go 255 and 255. All right, we got this magenta color here. All right. I want to apply this magenta color to this image. I need to blend it into the base. So this is my blend layer. The color fill is the blend layer. This is the base. Okay. Now I have a bunch of blend layers, but right now what I want to focus in on just two. We have darken and multiply. Okay. Now in an image like this, you may not see a difference, but let's start with darken. Okay. So what darken does is that there's a calculation that takes place. It says that you take the brightness of the blending layer, right? The color of the blending layer, and you apply it to the shadows. All right. All of any area that's brighter than the blending layer will get a color. Okay. Now let's explain it like this. All right, let's do this. Let's start with this. Here's a gradient spectrum, right? Black, the brightness of black is 0, and we can just simply go here, click. We're looking at this value here. Okay, this value here, my brightness is 0. Okay, so the brightness is 0. I click on the second layer. My brightness is 15. Click here. The brightness is 45, and so on. So that's what these numbers represent. These numbers here represent the brightness of that particular that shade, right? 100% brightness means that it is all white. 0 on the blackness means it's black. Is 100% black, 100% white. All right. Now, if we take a color, right, and I'm going to just add some type of color here. I'm not going to use red. Let's use this green. All right. All right. Let's look at the brightness of this green. The brightness of the green is at 50. Okay. The brightness of my green is at 50. We know, okay, so this color is 55. This one is 45. Okay. So when I go to the blend layer of darken, what darken says is that any color, if we take that brightness, our brightness was 50. Anything that is brighter than 50 gets that shade of green. Okay. You can see it got that shade of green. Anything darker than the 50 gets the shade of green and then gets darkened. Right. So so essentially what it's going to do is going to say, okay, anything that's white or close to white, we're going to apply the color to it. All right. Anything that is less than the 50, we're going to apply the color to it and we're going to darken it. All right. So that's how that works. All right. So that's why you see that at 50, if 50 is here, that means at 55, all of this just received the color. All right. And it received the color. our brightness at 50, even though this was 100, this was 90, this 78, this 76, this 55, it just says, nope, I'm simply going to apply the color and the brightness to the highlights. For anything that's 100% black, it's still going to be 100% black. All right. Everything else gets shaded. Okay. So this green, the green now is green, but it's darker, right? Because we know that the original green was at 50. This green now is 45. All right. So that's what's happening there. All right. If I change to multiply, now multiply is a little different, right? Because multiply is, you can see that whatever is 100% white gets the color with 100%, gets the color, and has 100% bright, gets the color. And whatever is at black remains black. And the reason we're multiplying is this. We're saying that this color here, the blend mode before it was 0.9, was 90, right? So this was 90%. So we're multiplying that the 0.9 by whatever shade it was. So it was 50% shade, right? Well, what is 50 times 0.9? 50 times 0.9 is 45. You have 45, right? This color here is 0.8. Now we're going to 39%. Okay. 34%. So what is multiply is that it's saying that take the brightness of the base layer, whatever that brightness is, multiply that brightness by the blend layer, and you get your value. So I take this was at 50. And because it was white, well, one times, essentially saying 1 times that 50 is 50. So it's 50%. 0.9 times that 50 is 45. 0.78 times that 50 is 39, and so on. So if we say 15%, that 50 multiplied by 0.15, you get 7. So that's what's happening with this. That's what's going on with the multiply. All right. And so what does that mean for us? For us, when we're looking at an image like this, now it's already a dark image, so you don't see much difference between darken and multiply, but you do see that if I click here, this base is 0.39, is 59 brightness, right? This is 100% brightness. So that means that 100 by 0.59, when I go multiply, what I should get is close to 59. Okay. So I get these two colors blended together, and the brightness is 59. Okay. Because what it's saying is that my magenta was at 100%. So if I change this color here to say, I don't want the brightness, I want it at 80. So now my brightness is at 80. Okay. Now, all I have to do then is guess this. If I say 80 times 0.59, the brightness should be 47. All right. If I click here, the brightness is 47. All right. This is kind of how you can start to anticipate what you're doing with your images. Now, the main thing then is how do we, now it becomes opacity and fill, right? It becomes, do I really want this image to look like this? No, I may change the opacity down. I may change the fill. I may do a blend if, and a blend if says that I can kind of use a gradient. I can kind of add a little more feathering between these colors as they go. So that's what we're doing there. Again, how long have I been talking with this? This 41-minute geek out. I mean, this is, when you think about Photoshop, this is really what we're doing, right? This is really part of it. Understanding what the blend modes will get you. Now I just did darken and multiply. However, if you understand darken and multiply, lighten and screen work the same way, except it's opposite. So darken and multiply will darken your image. Lighten and screen will brighten your image. Okay. These are the four that we use. The overlay creates contrast between the colors. Okay. So it works a little differently, but the idea behind them. That's right. So if I come over here to overlay, you can see that what we've done is that we just, this was 55. Right. So that's because it's 50% gray. Let's see. All right. All right. So let's do that. All right. All right. So I will drill down into this in an official video, but I just wanted to kind of geek out today because I should have been fishing actually, but Illinois being Illinois kind of messed my fishing trip up today. So I'm just going to go Spectrum. All right. So enough of the geek out moment. Like I said, this stuff can get kind of wonky, but the main thing is that when it comes to color, just understand that in Photoshop we can do a lot of things with this color. But now I am going to stop this feed, start a new one, so we can get into our so we're going to stop this and then we're going to start a new one so we can get into our doodle for the day. Let's do that. All right, I'll be back in 10.